The Baltic tribes and their modern descendants, the Latvians, Latgalians, Lithuanians, and Samogitians, may be one of the most archaic indo-european peoples in terms of language and religion. At the same time, not many Westerners know much about them, apart from branding our tribal ancestors the last pagans of Europe. Lithuania has managed to preserve its unique folk beliefs and spirituality, but to say that my people, the Latvians and Latgalians, haven't, also would be, in my opinion, very wrong. In this video, I will attempt to cover the basics, you could say, the ABCs of the Latvian ethnic faith, as well as 20th and 21st century efforts of revival. Every wholesome nation needs not just their own language and ethnic footing, but also cultural and thus spiritual. For the peoples that make up the Latvians of today, those were the Dainas, usually quartet-styled poems telling of everyday life, our gods, our morals, and our ethics. Had Krisha and his barons not archived and collected them from the late 19th to the early 20th century, perhaps our national awakening would have been nothing more than that of France, heathenism replacing traditional monarchy. The Dainas are from all times, more recent ages mentioning Christ, to potentially older days, possibly even from the tribal period. They tell tales of a worldview of a people who went through many hardships. They strengthen one's individuality, but also give a feeling of belonging, a national mass consciousness, if you will, to the land and to the native people. Dievs, literally translating to God, is the Sky Father, the beginning of everything. The soul of the world itself would be Dievs. He is the creator entity and the starting point of everything spiritual. He is the decision maker of the universal laws and the protector of morality and justice, the one who was, the one who is, and the one who will be. He is eternal and comprehensive. He is the center and beginning of all events. The European Christian portrayal of God, or Yahweh, would still be accurate if I were to show it and say that it is Dievs, because the art shows the European Sky Father, not the Abrahamic spirit. Through Dievs and with Dievs is how the Latvian peasant lived and worked, which was basically the same in our Dainas. When one would ask me, but where does this eternal Dievs dwell? I would simply answer, everywhere, beside us. In conclusion, all is Dievs, and Dievs is all. All other of our deities are called Dievi, named after him, but in plural, only further hinting that even they are part of him. It would be a mistake to simply say that Dievs is a singular being. That is true, sure, but he is also dual. The spiritual, knowledge and his counsel, while also the material, like the physical earth. He also expresses himself as four entities, four elements: earth, fire, air, water, four cardinal directions: east, west, north and south, and so on. Within Dievs unites all opposites: light and dark, mother and father, good and evil. Despite that, in the interpretation of my people, Dievs is the bringer of all good and light. He gives advice and health, and primarily he protects. Good always comes from him, but evil never comes, at least not directly from him, but rather the multiple infighting fates and forces of nature, including but not limited to, well, evil people or the chaos that balance brings. As Andres Brock states, evil is deliberate willful action of human against Dievs laid out a world order, both against nature and fellow kinsmen. But evil is not an independently existing power. All that live are united by one factor, the soul, or dvēsele in Latvian. It is a sign of Dievs' presence. It is the timeless part of humans which comes from Dievs. When a human rises for the journey of life, The soul armors itself with Mara's essence, but with death, the Mara's shield gets left to the Earth Mother and goes back to Diev's realm. Ernest Brastinch writes, "The main feature of the soul is life. That's why in the Dainas, instead of life, they use the word soul, but the core meaning of life and the soul itself has not been established, and so it probably will remain forever, no matter how much our philosophers and scientists try. In the end, this only reflects the indo-european view of everything being in a cycle. Nature, or daba in Latvian, comes from the word dievs, meaning sky. With this word, ancient man understood the powers of nature that make the world flow, that determine the way of stars, dictate the fates of people, the fate of how good crops will grow, and generally the fate of animals. Don't for a moment think that my ancestors were this peaceful, innocent sissies who just sat around and played kuokla all day. There was an entire crusade declared on them, and they fought bravely, sadly on both sides. The quote-unquote patron god for these warriors would be Pērkons. If Dievs creates the world and makes the laws, then Pērkons executes them. Rules the world like an administrator, mighty, all-including, like a blow. His name even translates to literal thunder. For that reason, Pērkons is often considered the same being as Dievs, while also being distinct. Other names for him are Vecais Tēvs, Rūcais, Debesu Kalais, Pērkoņu Tēvs, or at times even the son of Dievs, fundamentally the oldest son who inherits the most rights and duties. He is impatient and impossible to please. It would be foolish to call his name without a reason. Mostly old or worthy people are allowed to, calling him in a gentle way, Pērkonitis or Pērkoniņš. Since his name was sort of a taboo, many Dainas used euphemisms to call him out. Serving as a warrior god, he grew to prominence during the wars that the Baltic tribes had against the Crusaders. Teljavelis is Pērkon's assistant. He is the god of smithing and crafting, sometimes considered to be related to farming as well. He is the forger of skies. The initial oneness of Pērkons and Dievs through the maker-doer unity was through their own initiative. The first push of Diev's will was the beginning of the dance between him and Pērkons. It was how time and the world itself began. Modern science, in relation to this, poses a hypothesis about the Big Bang, which created the universe. If Dievs is theory, then Pērkons is practice. The dichotomy, if you can call it that, between these two reveals a man's relationship between the inner and outer world. The individual me mirrors the collective us states of mind. Valdis, or Jūots, or Jupis, meaning devil, which I will talk about in a future episode, is the god of chaos. Pērkons watches over the world and continues its movement every time when there is a threat of it stopping, when it's getting consumed by darkness, coldness, and stagnation, aka under the influence of Valdis' havoc. Pērkons is a god of just nature, and if needed, then he's a brave warrior, or also the commoner's friend. This is shown by his helpers, his big family of sons and daughters who are involved in helping craftsmen and farmers. This has been episode 1 of me looking into my ancestors' deities. Well, if you liked the video, please like and share and subscribe and whatever. And if you have any suggestions or, well, any feedback, what I did wrong and what I could have done better, please, well, comment down below. This is my first time making a video like this, so expect some mistakes. But, well, Pērkons.